let's see. I can add my notes chat. There we go. Hell yeah. Okay, we got Twitch and YouTube running. Hell yeah. Okay. Click on the chat message to display it on screen. We got this design. And we are just kind of screwing around right now. So I am going to just play around with this because I don't know the hell Twitch or YouTube is. Let's see. No, I don't know what that was. Let's see if I can. Hmm. Well, this isn't working. Jesus. Okay, there we go. Looks like this is actually working now. We should be okay. Yeah, I should have busted out the good camera for this one. Oh, here we go. First time noob. Yes. It is I think it's my second time, maybe third, at least on the YouTube thing. But okay. Hell yeah. So let's see. Might be a little bit of lag. I'm seeing there's a little bit of lag on one of these things. That's fine. And then let's see. Share chat. Can I display chat right now, actually? Okay, cool. Hi, David. How you doing? What questions do you have about counseling and counselor wisdom for me? Oh wow, this is laggy as shit, actually. Huh. Epstein. Yeah, that's effed up. Yeah. 9/11. I know nothing about 9/11, but apparently no one does either. I know a lot about 7-Eleven. 7-Eleven was an American company until the Japanese bought it. And now it's like this multinational super corporation that does its own banking and advertising and has like a fleet of ships and stuff, which is weird because you wouldn't think that, but they're apparently pretty huge over on the Asia side. Dancing in small hats or just hats that are dancing? Um, I don't know about that. Let's see. Is there anything on my Twitch? Let me see if that opens up. Hell yeah. Okay, 0 people on the Twitch. That is fine. Yeah, we are Gucci. Oh, how do I set this up in Twitch? It's supposed to have like a category, right? I have no idea. Oh well. So there's three people watching, it looks like, but two of them are me. Just as I check my overlay on the other sites. Let's see. Well, okay. Yeah, actually hide the chat overlay. All right, let me see if this. Okay, there we go. If I click something, it'll bring it up. There we go. Okay, if I click, okay, yeah. Got some good comments about dancing small hats. Wonderful. All right. No one wants to ask me a question. Uh, okay, let's just talk about PTSD. No, that's too depressing. Um, is there such thing as ESP, telepathy, clairvoyance? Yes. I'm usually a skeptical person, but the more I understand about like noosphere stuff, on collective unconscious, things like that, the more I'm like, there does seem to be something like that. It's not like Professor X telepathy, but I think there's just a lot of things in our unconscious that we can communicate without actually having to use words. Let's see. Hmm. David asked me something. What else you got? If you're busy, ask what would someone who isn't busy? I think the Epstein thing is really screwing with us because we all, like, America was always a low trust society, which is why we have a Second Amendment. It's like, okay, we can't actually trust each other because there's animals around here. Or even if most people are fine, it's like every so often you need to kill an alligator or a bear or a snake or whatever. And it's like, okay, I actually can't really trust the world to be safe for me, so I better be careful. But then you go to other countries where it's like a high trust society, usually very homogenous kinds of cultures. And it's like, oh yeah, people just can let their kids hang out and play and not actually expect them to be, you know, killed or eaten. Crazy, right? But now it's like the Epstein thing is like, okay, now we can't trust anything from the top down ever. And the blatant games being used to distract people around it are just ridiculous. It's super ridiculous. And it's like, yeah, I mean, that level of evil is just nonsense. Um, oh, thank you for sharing the link, Dave. I appreciate that. Um, let's see. Toilet riser worked like a charm. I'm really glad to hear that. That's good. Uh, sometimes you just need to get a little bit higher to get whatever you need done. Can you take me higher? That'd be a good advertisements song for toilet risers. Um, yeah, I'm so tired. Part of it's a damn medication, but part of it's also just the fact that I never actually addressed my sleep apnea. And I was like, oh, yeah, I don't have that anymore. And then I like checked yesterday, and apparently I was like choking on my own tongue. It's like, huh, yeah, lack of sleep will kill you. Genuinely. Yeah, apparently it affects everything. The other thing is like, man, I'm like hyper energized in the morning, and then it's just like anytime after lunch, you just collapse. Like, I don't know how people can go outside after nightfall. I'm so tired. Yeah. Let's see. I wonder if I can share my screen. Huh. Let me play around with this. We're gonna read. No, I do not want to change OBS. That's fine. I really should have brought out my good camera for this, but whatever. My laptop camera is fine. Let's see if I can mirror the camera in place. No. How do people play Oblivion on like live chat and stuff with this? One second. Oh, here we go. Let me just test this out. One second. Okay. Oh, there we go. Nice. To switch your media, open three-dot menu and click replace. Nice. All right, we are going to. Oh wait, can I make this bigger? Hmm. Customize radius. Huh. All right, we're just gonna read the list top 10 list of psychology's big questions and the answers. Is it gonna be that important? No. But okay. Let's see. Yeah. No, we don't actually have to go through this. But I'm glad this seems to be working. Nice. I wonder, let me actually just see what this looks like. Bear with me. I need to go on my other screen to see what's working. Nice. Okay, let me see if I can make this bigger. Maximize. I'm a real hardcore streamer now. This is awesome. Lag. I wish it was a little bit more real time than this, but that's okay. I'm slowly figuring it out. All right, that's fine. Well, enough reading psychology today for now. Back to chat. All right, here we go. I could do this. Been watching streamers for the last year and a half, like full time forever. Like I can, if I had a better rig, I can play some Oblivion on here. Phone camera would definitely be better. Um, yeah, I might bring next time. I'm definitely going. I know I can hook up my Sony ZV-1, which I use for my everything else for making the YouTube thing. I have my. Let me see. I just don't have the damn mounts. The little selfie stick that can turn into an actual thing. It's somewhere around here. I'll find it later. Let's see. I can do this. I can play some games and talk to chat and somehow get paid on it on Twitch just like everyone else. Cool. I think I got another subscriber in the 14 minutes I've been doing this, maybe? Huh. Nice. Yes, this would definitely be good for live reacts. Yeah, okay. I'm gonna play a video and I'm going to comment on it and immediately get a copyright strike, which will be fine. That's when you know you've made it, when you get your first copyright strike. Yeah. Somehow, uBlock Origins got off of my damn Chrome. So I'm getting ads for the first time in frickin' forever. All right, let's see. Press H. Screen sharing. See if I can. We're going to react to RSA Animates The Secret Powers of Time. If let me replace screens. Here we go. Share it. We're going to try to make that full screen. Let me just make sure I am. For some reason, it's not showing the actual video. Why are you sharing my video, YouTube? There we go. This should work now. We're gonna full screen this one, and then I'm just going to comment as we go. Actually, we're not going to full screen this. We're going to half screen it. No, that's ridiculous. Let's customize my layout. Put me over here. No. Huh. For some reason, I haven't figured out how to put my face at the bottom right corner, just like everyone else. But we will do that some other time. All right.
So what we have discussed.
All right. Make sure. Let me know if you guys can hear it. So Philip Zimbardo is the guy who tortured a bunch of kids in the Stanford prison
So what we have
experiment in the
discovered in
basement.
30 years of research, there's six
So
main
you want to be
time
successful,
zones that people
be
live
the
in.
guy who
Two
tortures
focus on the
children for the
past, two
first
on the
time,
present, and two on the
and then
future.
monetize it
The
for your
people
entire
who focus
career.
on the past either remember all the good old times, successes, happy birthdays, nostalgia. These are the people who keep the family record, the family books, who have the family rituals. There are other people who focus only on regret, only on failure, only on all the things that went wrong.
So this is one of those things where it's like King, Warrior, Magician, Lover, where there's a polar opposite. It can be positive, it can be negative, or a mix between. He'll focus a little bit more on both of those later, but yeah.
We call those focus past positive or past negative.
Yeah.
There are two ways to be present-oriented. The most obvious is to be hedonistic, that you live for pleasure and you avoid pain. You seek novelty, you seek sensation. There are other people who are present-oriented because they say, it doesn't pay to plan. My life is fated. Fated by my religion, fated by my poverty, fated by the conditions that I'm living under.
Yeah, that part. When you're like in a desperate place or you feel just completely powerless, it's so hard to convince people that there are certain things within their control. And not just convince them, but actually like make them do it. Or not make them do it, but be like, okay, I know wallowing in despair feels a lot safer or a lot better right now. But no, Go sell some blood. Go do something fun for yourself. Take the bike ride. Go stream on Restream and see what you can do.
Of us are here because we are future-oriented, that we have learned to work rather than play, to resist temptation. But there's another way to be future-oriented. Depending on your religion, life begins after the death of the mortal body. To be future-oriented, you have to trust that when you make a decision about life begins after the death of the mortal body.
This one, he kind of glosses over this a little bit. He'll get into Calvinism in a minute. But this one screws with me. This screws with a lot of people, actually, because there's just so much. If you have this, if one of your things is like I'm very future oriented, and it's like everything's gonna be for God at the end of my life, it's like, yeah, your life might suck, and the life of the people around you might suck as well. There might be some negative effects on the people around you based on this belief, and it's kind of an inverted thinking in a lot of ways, where it's a future oriented thinking, but it makes your presence powerless in a lot of ways.
Future-oriented, you have to trust that when you make a decision about the future, it's going to carry out. If you have great inflation, you don't put money in the bank because you can't trust the future. If there's instability in your family, adults can't keep their promises to you. The closer you are to the equator, the more present-oriented you are. The more you're in an environment where climate doesn't change, it gives you a set of imagining same.
Okay, so this one really gets to me because I live in Florida right now, and it's like I'm a pretty future-oriented kind of person, but it is very interesting, like comparing where I grew up to Pittsburgh, where people are like very, very hard workers, where it's like, oh, people really do just want to drink and party and go to the beach all the time. So much so that they will, just not work. The first time I actually talked to one of my friends who missed school to go surfing, I was like, you can just do that? You can just make that choice? And she really didn't. She really wasn't supposed to, but I mean, that's her priority. That's fine.
Rather than change. Protestants everywhere have higher gross national product than Catholic countries, in part because of the Protestant ethic, because of the notion that you work hard to succeed, to demonstrate that you are God's chosen people. My family comes from Sicily, and in Italy there is a political movement called La Liga to cut Italy in half, to have North Italy and South Italy, cut it just below Tuscany. The people in the North say, we do all the work. The people in the South are lazy. They're like children. They want to have babies, have 3-hour dinners, etc. People in the South say, they're not Italian, they're German and Austrian.
So here's the thing. If you ever watched The Odd Couple, any of them, like the old-ass movie or the TV series or anything, it's like, okay, two people, they're living together. One person's dirty, with the other person's neat freak. One person's super conscientious, the other person's lazy. And the conflict between these two, I mean, the movie turns out good, of course. Everything, they kind of rub off on each other and they're fine. But the conflict can be megaton, especially if you're like married to each other.
They eat yogurt instead of pasta. They take their lunch in a paper bag. And in the recent election, the Liga got 14% of the national vote. It turns out it is accurate. We've done research to say people in the North tend to be, on a scale, much more future-oriented. People in the South tend to be more past-oriented or present hedonistic. And so my family is Sicilian, and I come from Sicily. I go back every year.
Here's the thing, though. The part of it's the weather. Part of it's like, hey, we have a long growing season, et cetera, et cetera. But part of it's also just like there's more opportunity to play. Miami is called America's playground. If you're close to the beach, if you're close to things to do, close to the whatever, it's like, it's great. Of course you want to, you're not very future oriented. Of course you're just like, hey, let's just party and chill at the bar. But if you're up north, like there's not much to do in a lot of places. It's like it's hard to go outside in the middle of winter. It's not just like the growing season.
Educational foundation. We send high school kids to college and set up computer labs. And I'm talking about some of this stuff, and a man comes up and says, I'm a poet. I live with words. And it wasn't until I heard your talk that I realized there's no future tense verb in Sicilian dialect. I said, what do you mean? There was, is, there's no will be. He said, that's why nothing gets done. And I didn't realize it because we never planned. So again, here's how when you have a number of people who share a certain time perspective, then it does come to characterize.
Japanese has the same thing as well. They don't have a future tense. And I'm trying to study it now, and it's like, it's very confusing. I'm trying to say, you have to make like a substance, like, in the future, this is going to happen.
The nation. In the same way, if you have a Catholic nation where people tend to be present or past-oriented, rather than a Protestant nation where, in general, people tend to be more future-oriented, it affects you in very profound ways. So there's a wonderful book called The Geography of Time, and it's written by a dear friend of mine, Robert Levine, who's a social psychologist.
Levine also wrote Scarcity, which is one of the best books ever written.
And he actually literally went around the world doing wonderful experiments. He looks at what he calls the pace of life. See, time perspective is how people divide their own experience into partitions, time zones. Another kind of time orientation is your sense of duration. How much time has expired while you're sitting in a dentist's office before they start drilling? How much time has expired when you've been waiting in line? How much time has expired when you're having fun?
So ADHD people also have a problem with this because in a lot of ways, time disorientation is an ADHD symptom. There's no actual future past. There's just now and not now. And that can lead to feeling like every moment feels like eternity. Yeah. But it's also just hard to actually plan ahead as well.
So time duration is totally a function of whether you're bored, whether you're excited or not. And what he does is he shows that in different cultures, people have a different pace of life. And you do this very simply. You sit in a cafe and you mark off 100 meters, and as people pass, you start a stopwatch. And you see how fast people walk. You go to a post office, and on a piece of paper you say, I'd like, 3 pounds of this postage or 10 euros, and you see how long it takes. So he has a bunch of these measures, and it turns out you can identify cultures as different pace of life, and now cities.
Oh, God damn it.
The kid is hurting.
And he shows in America, you can rank 60 cities according high pace of life and low pace of life. And the ones that have the highest pace of life, men have the most coronary problems. That is, this becomes part of your whole way of life.
So here's the thing, yeah. So as much as like the South is, at least the southern states in America and different parts of the Midwest, it's like, oh, everyone's fat, everyone's drinking too much, just vaping on the beach. It's like, yeah, true, but maybe there's less stress overall because the only thing you have to worry about is maybe you're working less. Maybe you're not having a coronary artery problem. Maybe like you can just kind of chill a little bit more.
We all begin life as present hedonists. All of us. I mean, at the breast, at the bottle, we want pleasure, we want to avoid pain. And one of the things that families do, and especially school, my sense is the purpose of schooling is to take present-oriented little beasts and make them more future-oriented. In some cultures, make them more past-oriented. In America, a child drops out of school every 9 seconds. This is worse for kids from a minority background, and it's worse for boys than girls. There's actually a disaster recipe developing among boys in America, literally dropping out of high school, college, and it's not simply poor performance. One of the problems is, a recent study shows that by the time a boy is 21, he has spent at least 10,000 hours playing video games alone. Probably more watching pornography alone. And you put that together, it means, A, they haven't learned social skills, emotional, social intelligence, but also it means that they live in a world that they create. They're playing Warcraft.
So, Warcraft Widows, I don't know if anyone remembers that. Those, like, when Warcraft first came out, like 2003, 2004. I remember being in Iraq, and I was talking to my one friend Eli, who was an addict, who was very much an addict, played we didn't have internet enough for him to play actually, but when he was at home at least, it was like okay, he was such an addict that he would play hours and hours and hours on it. And it's like when then you start hearing these stories about the Warcraft widows who are like these people who are like my husband doesn't talk to me anymore and he just stares at the damn screen. And it's like yeah, that's the addiction is real.
Crafted playing these other games, which is exciting. In fact, I just heard the other day that these game companies are now going to develop 3D games so that the world will be all around you.
Yeah, they have that. It's what's that virtual thing called? Like every VTuber and every YouTuber does it. It's the whatever the 3D thing is where you can like just hang out together and stuff. But you can put it either on you can either put it on the screen or you can put it on the stupid Oculus.
Their brains are being digitally rewired, which means they will never fit in a traditional classroom, which is analog. Somebody talks at you without even the nice pictures. Meaning it's boring. I mean, you control nothing. You sit there passively. And if you want to change the curriculum, I understand the traditionalists here say we got to go back to reading, writing, arithmetic. Disaster. These kids will never fit into that. They have to.
Well, if you make the reading, writing, and arithmetic not fucking boring, then you won't have a goddamn problem. The biggest problem, it's Calvin and Hobbes. It's like if you're bored to tears, it doesn't matter what you're trying to do. It doesn't matter the format. If you're not actually meeting them at their level, then it sucks. But anyway, I rant about this stuff because it's like, oh, well, yeah, the traditional classroom. I have a master's degree, and the industrial traditional classroom is hell. It never should have existed like this, or it only should exist for certain types of people with certain types of mindsets, and who, yeah, I can go into a long angry rant.
Be in a situation where they are controlling something, and school is set up, you control nothing. You're passive. School is all about learning, delay of gratification, literally endlessly. All addictions are addictions of present hedonism. Food, sex, drugs, gambling, etc.
All addictions are actually addictions around loss, grief, trauma, or some other missing components. If you actually look into alcohol studies and opiate studies, you'll find out that like you probably heard of the like rat heaven, rat paradise, where it's like okay, if you make the world and the society and the connections so good, they're not going to actually choose any drugs or anything like that. They're just going to choose, half the time compared to everything else. It's going to be, yeah, I'm not explaining myself very well. The idea of drugs, sex, gambling as addictions are usually covering up a need that's not being met.
All of our propaganda, all of our educational message, all our public relations messages are designed for future-oriented kids, who's not the problem. They tell you, here's the negative consequences of doing what you're doing. Future-oriented kids know that, and they don't do it. Present-oriented kids know the future consequences. If you're a teenage girl, you know that if you have unprotected sex, you're likely to get pregnant or have sexually transmitted disease. You know it, but that knowledge never feeds back to change your behavior. So that's
the other thing is, like, it's not just restriction of gratification. It's also something like, what's fun? If it's like, okay, don't smoke, don't do drugs, don't have sex. But what can I do? What's actually fun here? What's actually the meaning of life here? What's actually purpose here? It's like, of course, people are going to do smoke and do drugs. The entire idea is like, it's better than the alternative. And if the alternative is just staring at like being locked in a classroom with no control, or worse, being locked in a cubicle with no control, yeah, drink to live.
the interesting thing about time perspective. I think we are underestimating the power of technology in rewiring young people's brains. Kids don't wear wristwatches. They say it's a single function device. You don't waste time with a single function device. And they live in a digital thing. What matters is the second. I didn't mention one of the things that gets people upset in America is how long it takes to boot up your computer and how long it takes to download something. Less than a minute. That makes people angry.
Yeah, guilty as charged. This is very true for me.
So it becomes an emotional thing. You get angry waiting in line, waiting for services. Waiting is a waste of time, even if it's waiting for your computer to boot up. So I think there's a fundamental change going on in our culture that I think we adults are not realizing, that kids are totally different than we were. And it's because it's revolution in time. There was a recent study we did with USA Today asking Americans how busy they are. The vast majority of Americans, more than 50%, said, I'm busier now than I was last year, I'm busier last year than the previous year, and I sacrifice friends, family, and sleep for my success. This is across the board, not separating by future orientation. And then we say, suppose you had an 8-day a week, what would you do? They say, oh, that would be great. They would spend most of that time working harder, achieving more, not with friends, not with family, and not even.
The problem is, and fucking Zimbardo probably doesn't realize this because he was a psychologist at Stanford and became a rich millionaire in the 70s. But the idea is like, yeah, I have to. Like, rent's not going down, asshole.
And sleeping. They did this study 20 years ago, and I was upset, again, from this Italian background. Only 60% of Americans said they have regular sit-down family dinners. When we redid the study...
Do you even like your family? For me, family dinners weren't exactly fun most of the time, or at least the times I remember.
Last year, only 1 in 5 American families have sit-down dinners together. In America, we talk about family values. You can't have a family value if you never have family meals together. I think many of life's puzzles can be solved by simply understanding our own time perspective and that of others. Lots of conflict we have with people is really a conflict in different time perspectives. Once you're aware of that, you stop making negative attributions like you're dumb or you're childish or you're pig-headed or you're authoritarian. It's really the most simple idea in the world.
Yeah, so I agree with that last part, especially the idea of your. Oh, wait, turn this thing off. Shut up. Yeah, the idea of oh, there I am. There we go. Yeah, the idea of your beliefs. Don't yell at people because they disagree with you. It's like I just posted this on one of the newsletters. The beliefs, the orientation, your mental schema is what actually separates you, what gives you two different ideas. So if you're a person who's busy, 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 you want, freeways, you want the Autobahn, you want places with no speed limits, or at least high ones. But if you're some concerned parent, maybe a little bit more scared, or you have family members who are playing in the street sometimes, you want slower speed limits. You want things to slow down. You want things safer. And it's like that's just one simple idea that you can separate these two concepts on. But yeah, the time orientation thing, like the wasting time. When I was this was definitely a culture shock in so many places I've lived, but especially a lot of places in Florida where it's like people just don't have any movement with a purpose. You'll be at the Publix counter, you'll be like waiting in line for I mean half hour waiting on a sandwich, something. And people will gallivant with the cashier forever. And it's like, oh yeah, this is absolutely ridiculous. But now, of course, a lot of these people are old and they're like, okay, we got plenty of time because we're retired and we got nothing to do. But a lot of the people are also just like just a slower pace in life. And it is infuriating, or at least it was at the start. I think I've calmed down and gotten used to it now, but it's still there. I still got a little bit of northern stress in me. Let's see. What else? What other kinds of videos can we react to? Let me see if I can find something good. Oh, it's a good video though. Hmm. Hmm. Huh. I am the worst streamer on earth because I don't know how to adjust my place. Oh man.